Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the World Human Development. So let's begin. First of all, we will discuss about the growth and development. Difference between the growth and development. Growth is quantitative and value neutral. It means that the changes may be either positive or negative. Whereas development means a qualitative change, which means it is always value positive. Development leads to the increase in the quality of life of the individuals, whether it is material, social, psychological or political or spiritual life. For example, if the population of a city grows from 1 lakh to 2 lakhs over a period of time, we say that the city has grown. But if at the same time the facilities like housing, provision of basic services, education, health facilities, etc. also increase along with the growth, then this growth has been accompanied by development. Now let's talk about the concept of human development. Well, for many decades, human development was measured in terms of income. But income is not the sum total of human life. Development cannot be equated solely to income expansion, as income growth is essential, but health, education and freedom is also very important. The idea of human development was pioneered by two great economists, Dr. Mehboob ul Haq from Pakistan and Professor Amartya Sen from India. They both were close friends and have worked together. Let us watch this video which shows that how Dr. Haq and Professor Sen changed the definition of development. Well, the first Human Development Report that was published by UNDP in 1990 was created by Dr. Haq. This report states that the basic objective of development is to create an enabling environment for people to enjoy long, healthy and creative lives. It also defines that a process of enlarging people's choices and strengthen human capabilities in such a way which enables them to lead longer, healthier and fuller lives. Capabilities here describes a person's freedom to choose between different ways of living. Now, from this broad definition of human development, one gets an idea of three aspects of human development. These are to lead a long and healthy life, to be educated and to enjoy a decent standard of living. Here one may conclude that the absence of these essential choices debars or blocks many other opportunities that people should have in widening their choices. Human development is thus a process of widening people's choices as well as raising the level of well-being achieved. With this, we conclude that economic growth measured in terms of per capita GNP focuses only on one choice, and that is income. On the other hand, the notion of human development embraces the widening of all human choices, whether economic, social, cultural or political. However, GDP or GNP, that is income, is a useful measure of development, since income growth enables persons in expanding their range of choices. So, we can say that income is the part of human development, but it is not all the human development. Well, this however shows that human choices go far beyond income expansion. There are so many choices that are not dependent on income. Thus, human development covers all aspects of development. Hence, it is a holistic concept. Economic growth as such becomes only a subset or subpart of human development pattern. True development has to be people-centered. When development is defined in terms of human welfare, it means that people are put first. This people-oriented view of development is to be called human development. Next, we will talk about the pillars or components of human development. The noted Pakistani economist Mehboob ul Haq considered 4 major pillars of human development. They are equality, sustainability, productivity and empowerment. Let us do these pillars one by one. We will begin with the first pillar, that is equality. If development is viewed in terms of enhancing people's basic capabilities, people must enjoy equitable access to opportunities. This may be called equality related capabilities. People should have equal opportunities irrespective of their gender, race, income or caste. For example, distribution of land can be made more farmer friendly through land reforms and other redistributive measures. Another example, to ensure basic equality, political opportunities need to be more equal. In the absence of effective political organizations, disadvantaged groups are exploited by the rich to follow their own interests rather than social goals. One more example. In India, a large number of women and persons belonging to socially and economically weaker sections drop out of the schools. This shows how the choices of these two groups, the women and the socially and economically backward people, get limited by not getting knowledge. Once the access to such opportunity is opened in an equitable way, women or religious minorities or ethnic minorities would be able to remove all socio-economic obstacles of development. This then surely makes society more equitable. The next pillar is sustainability. Another important side of human development is that development should keep going, should last long. Here, sustainability means continuity in the availability of opportunities. Access to opportunities cannot be at the expense of next generation's opportunities. That means Each generation must have the same opportunities available to them. This says that social well-being is not only for the present generation but also for the future generation. Misuse of any of these resources will lead to fewer opportunities for the future generation. A good example is the importance of sending girls to school. If a community does not stress the importance of sending their girl children to school, many opportunities will be lost to these young girls when they grow up. Their career choices will be severely curtailed. So each generation must ensure the availability of choices and opportunities to its future generation. The next pillar is productivity. Another component of human development is productivity, which requires investment in people. Here we are talking about the productivity of human being. This is commonly called investment in human capital. Investment in human capital, in addition to physical capital, can add more productivity. People should be able to productively participate in development process, in income generation, and receive decent pay for their work. The improvement in the quality of human resources raises the productivity of existing resources. Therefore, efforts to increase their knowledge or provide better health facilities ultimately lead to better working efficiency. Last but not the least is empowerment. Empowerment means to have the power to make choices by extending opportunities and participation. Powers can come from increasing freedom and capabilities. Good governance and people-oriented policies are required to empower people. This means that development should not be just for people, but by the people. People should be involved in decision-making process that affect their lives. For example, government makes many policies to empower the socially and economically disadvantaged groups, such as education of women can lead to lower fertility, better care of children, more educational opportunities, and higher productivity. Above all, as women's education rises, women's independence in making their own choices also increases. Our next topic is approaches to human development. Well, at different points of time, different approaches were used to deal with human development. The first approach was income approach, then came the welfare approach, the basic need approach, and finally the last approach was capability approach. Let's talk about the approaches one by one. We will begin with the income approach. This is one of the oldest approaches to human development. In this approach, human development is seen as being linked to income. The idea is that the level of income reflects the level of freedom an individual enjoys. That means higher the level of income, more is the freedom and higher is the level of human development. The next approach is welfare approach. This approach looks at human beings as beneficiary or targets of all developmental activities. The approach argues for higher government expenditure on education, health, and social amenities. The government is responsible for increasing level of human development by maximizing expenditure on welfare. In this approach, people are not participants in development, but they are only the passive recipients of all development provided by the government. The next approach is basic need approach. This approach was initially proposed by International Labour Organization. There are 6 basic needs which have been identified as health, education, food, water supply, sanitation and housing. Now the question of human choices is ignored in this approach, and the emphasis is on the provision of basic needs of the people only. So this approach is also not that very good. Last but not the least is capability approach. This approach is associated with Professor Amartya Sen. The key idea of the capability approach is to expand people's capabilities in the areas of health, education and access to resources to increase the human development. As on date, this is the best approach to study human development. Well, by now we have come to know that the 3 areas of human development are: 1. A long and healthy life, 2. Education, and 3. A decent standard of living. Now next we will talk about the Human Development Index, that is HDI. HDI is the index to measure the human development of various countries based on their performance in the key areas of health, education and access to resources. Now how is HDI calculated? To calculate HDI, each of the indicator, that is health, education and access to resources, is given a weightage of 1/3. That means all the 3 are added together and then divided by 3. All the countries are ranked on the basis of their performance in the key areas of health, education and access to resources. These rankings are based on a score between 0 to 1 that a country earns from its record in the key areas of human development. If the score is closer to 1, then the level of human development is high. Therefore, a score of 0.983 would be considered a very high score, while 0.268 would mean a very low score of human development. Relying on HDI values is not just enough, because we also need to understand the distribution of each dimension across the population of the country. And Human Development Index never talks about the distribution. For example, there are 2 countries, A and B, with really good score of very high HDI. But how do we know that the distribution of health, education and access to resources in both these countries is the same? Country A may have equal distribution and country B may have inequalities, but still the final value of HDI would look perfect. So this is the flaw in this approach. So to deal with the situation, there is another method called the Human Poverty Index. This index is more revealing than the Human Development Index. Now we have 2 totally opposite indexes. The first one, Human Development Index. The Human Development Index measures the attainments, that means what has been achieved or attained in the key areas of human development. On the other hand, we have Human Poverty Index. It measures the shortfalls, that tells us what a person is deprived of in the same key areas of human development. The Human Poverty Index was developed by United Nations to complement the Human Development Index. If we want to get the best picture of human development situation in a country, then we need to look at both these measures simultaneously. Presently, the ways to measure human development are constantly being refined, and new ways of calculating human development are being researched. Now let us talk about a very unique kind of index, that is Gross National Happiness Index. Bhutan. Bhutan has pioneered the concept of gross national happiness. The phrase gross national happiness was first coined by the king of Bhutan, King Jigme Singyan Wangchuk, in 1972, when he declared gross national happiness is more important than the gross domestic product. In Bhutan, material progress and technological development are approached more cautiously so that they do not harm the environment or other aspects of cultural and spiritual life of the Bhutanese. This simply means material progress cannot come at the cost of happiness. Now, let us watch this video in which last king of Bhutan is addressing his people and talking about their common goal, that is GNH. Please listen to him.
GNH is the philosophy that acts as our national conscience, always guiding us to make better and wiser decisions for our future. It reminds us to strive for and work for the happiness and the well-being of every single Bhutanese at all times. But now, why is it important? Now, I truly believe that for a very small country like Bhutan, with an even smaller population, it is extremely vital that we have a shared national objective. We simply cannot afford to work in different directions. Now, I have no doubt whatsoever that GNH will always reflect the aspirations of our people and the interests of our nation. Therefore, GNH is our common goal. It is our duty to find new ways of achieving the goals of GNH. So, in other words, GNH today, for us, is the bridge between the fundamental values of kindness, equality, and humanity, and today, the necessary pursuit of economic growth.
Now let's see, why do we calculate HDI? Well, HDI value for a country shows the distance that it has to travel to reach the maximum possible value of 1. Another thing which is important to know is that it allows the international comparisons also. So that's the reason we do calculate HDI. Now let us talk about the international comparisons in HDI. Well, while comparing different countries on the basis of their human development, it has been observed that the size of the country and the per capita income have no direct relationship to human development. It has been observed that some small countries have done better than the larger ones in human development. For example, the countries like Israel, Jordan, they are smaller in size but have higher human development than India or Pakistan. Many of the relatively poor nations have performed better in terms of human development than their richer neighbors. For example, Sri Lanka and Libya, they are smaller economies but have higher rank than India in the Human Development Index. Similarly, if we see within India, then we find that Kerala has lower per capita income than Punjab or Gujarat, despite performs much better in terms of human development. Now let us categorize the countries on the basis of their performances in the level of human development. There are 4 categories: very high, high, medium, and low. Let us deal with all the 4 categories one by one. First, we have very high level of human development. These countries have a score of over 0.800. According to HDI report of 2018, this group includes 59 countries in all. The top 10 countries with high value index are Norway, Switzerland, Australia, Ireland, Germany, Iceland, Hong Kong, Sweden, Singapore, Netherlands. These countries have very high life expectancy. Also, they are highly developed nations. Next, we have high level of human development. These countries have a score of over 0.701. According to HDI report of 2018, there are 53 countries in this group. In these countries, important government priority is to provide education and healthcare facilities. Also, these countries invest a lot in the social sector. These countries also get the advantage of good governance. And many of these countries have been the former imperial powers also. The degree of social diversity is also very low in these countries. Most of these are industrialized European countries. Next we have is medium level of human development index. The countries falling in this category have their score of over 0.550. According to the HDI report of 2018, there are 39 countries in this group, and most of these countries have emerged after the Second World War. Some of them were former colonies, while many others have emerged after the breakup of the erstwhile Soviet Union in the year 1990. The governments of these countries are rapidly improving the HDI score by adopting more people-oriented policies which reduce social discrimination also. These countries have a very high social diversity as compared to the countries with higher human development score. And that's a weak point of these countries. Many of these countries have faced political instability and social uprising at some point of time in their recent history. Last we have is low level of human development index. These are the countries which have the score below 0.549. According to HDI report of 2018, there are 38 countries in this group. Most of these countries are small in size. Most of them have been going through political turmoils and social instability in the form of civil war, famine, and high incidence of diseases. This group urgently needs to address the human development requirements through well thought out policies. Now let's see what makes a difference in the level of HDI in different countries. Well, it is the investment policies of the countries with high HDI and the low HDI. Let us see. Countries with high HDI, the governments spend more on social sector and are generally free from political turmoils and instability. Distribution of countries' resources are far more equitable. So that's the reason that they are high HDI. And let us see what happens in low HDI countries. These countries spend more on defense rather than social sector, and they tend to be located in the areas of political instability and have not been able to initiate accelerated economic development. Now let us talk about the country with highest HDI, that is Norway. It is located in Northern Europe with its capital Oslo. The HDI value for Norway is 0.954. It is actually known for being the place with highest living standards and its rich economy. They never flaunt their richness, their wealth, like rich Gulf nations. Moreover, Norway also has the even distribution of wealth. Now the country with lowest HDI is Niger. The HDI value is 0.377. It has widespread malnutrition, and here almost 45% people live below poverty line. Thank you for watching. Do like the video if you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, if you have any doubts, comment down below. And if you are new here, subscribe to my channel for more videos like this.